to see you all. I'm just here sewing a little bit at last minute. I kind of thought 2 birds, 1 stone, and I would get some bits sewn. And I thought that I'd do another episode, or live, whatever you want to call it, where I answer all your gardening questions. So if you have any gardening questions, drop them down below. I'm more than happy to answer them for you if you're interested. I'm actually sewing, where is it? I'm sewing some purple sprouting broccoli. I don't normally sew it this late, but I thought, why not have a little go and have a bit of a later purple sprouting broccoli. Oh, why are my broccoli heads small or not forming? So if your broccoli heads are small and not forming, it could be that you don't have enough nitrogen in your soil, or it could be that they aren't quite ready. So if they're not forming yet, leave it a little while and they will ball up. What you don't want, you want nice tight broccoli heads, so they look a little bit like that. When they start to separate, that is when you they're getting overripe. You want to pull them before that, because then you get the yellow flowers. You don't want the yellow flowers on your broccoli. They can go a little bit bitter if you let them go to seed as well, so it's not ideal. So just wait a little bit longer, all right, and they probably will ball up. So yeah, if you got any questions, drop them down below about gardening and I'll let you know. Oh, I've got another one. I have, oh, it's all broccoli mad here. I have one big broccoli in a big pot. It's massive, but there's no broccoli head yet. Yeah, broccoli plants are a lot bigger than you would think they are, because they have tons and tons of leaves. So just wait, right? You will get something. You just have to wait. They do take quite a long time to grow, but they are massive plants. You'll be surprised. The one in the small pots are rubbish. Yes, they have a really big root system, so if you're going to put them in small plants, they're not going to do very well. You have to think, imagine all of that foliage on top, you've got the same amount underneath, so they do need a lot of room to grow. So if you do transplant them, depending on how long you've had them in there, they might do a bit better in the ground. What's the best way to grow asparagus? I like the trenching method, where you trench down, and I believe they are 2 to 3 foot apart. That's how I do them, and do them in a trench. The reason I think it's better to do them in a trench is because if you dig individual holes, it can just be a bit more time consuming. That's how I personally do it. I grow all my asparagus from seed, which I know is a little bit unpopular, but it's asparagus crowns can be really expensive, so it's well worth, you know, investing that time, I think, anyway. How do you trench? Honestly, easiest way to do it, pickaxe, and just drag the pickaxe along. You get a nice decent trench, but make sure it's wide enough. You don't want to plant an asparagus with its roots like this. You want it to be like a spider, spread out. That's the best way that I found to do it. And we've got loads of asparagus. I have a question. Go ahead. Yeah, type in your question, that's absolutely fine. Where should I plant my vegetable garden? Full sun. Wherever you have it. So if you have space in your garden, having a home garden is so much easier than having an allotment, because you can just nip out there 5-10 minutes a day. That's absolutely fine. But if you have any space anywhere, that's the best place to get it. Why do I build like a carousel? I'm not sure what that means. Sorry, if you want to explain, Ghostface. How much sunlight do you need for vegetable needs? Depends on the vegetable. A good rule of thumb is 6 to 8 hours of direct sunshine. But there's lots of things, especially this time of year, which do better in the shade, like lettuce. They're absolutely fun. There are loads of things that do all right in the shade. But yeah, 8 hours is great. I have no idea, sorry. How is your basil doing? My basil is doing amazing. I actually just oh, how are you doing in Brazil? Completely misread that. Yeah, we're going good. How is it growing in Brazil? What season are you in? I imagine winter. Don't judge me on that. I'm not too sure. I don't know very much about it. Can I grow vegetables in part shade? Yes, you can. Absolutely. Anything that's leafy does really well in part shade. This time of year, particularly absolutely loves part shade is lettuce, because it will bolt if you put it in full sun. Why is my cucumber not fruiting yet? So if your fruit, are you growing your cucumber in pots, or are you growing it in the earth? So if you've sown it later, so I've got 2 lots of sowings of cucumbers. One of them I've got loads of cucumbers coming in, but the other one is too young, so that's why I've just planted it a little bit too late. I planted the last one, I think, at the beginning of June, so it's just a little bit behind. If you've got any yellowing of the leaves, giving it something like a tomato fertilizer might give it that little kick. But in pots, give it a feed. If it's nice and big and got lots of flowers on it, give it a feed. Why can I do my broccoli encourage growth? Give it a general fertilizer. That will be the best thing to do. You said it's really big and leafy, so nothing that's really strong in nitrogen. So if you're giving it lots of chicken manure and stuff like that, just pull back on that. It will start to flower. So yeah, so I'm just catching up on the chat. So yeah, if you give anything a lot of nitrogen fertilizer, which is chicken manure or even bloodfish and bone, you will get tons and tons and tons of leaves. So that won't be great. How do I stop my courgette being eaten? Wow, you know what? I don't ever have an issue with my courgettes being eaten. What is the damage like on your courgettes? Maybe I can work out what the issue is. How do you sow? Do you know what? I was reading about sowing with moon phases the other day. I've never done it. I literally just sow whenever I have time, so I'd be useless. If I wait too long, I'd absolutely never get it done. So I just do whenever. Have you tried it? Has anyone tried moon phasing? I'd be really interested in that. How much water does a vegetable garden need per week? A couple of inches each week, so just give it a good drink. Make sure that you not only water it, but you water it deeply. So don't just put a little bit of water. What I like to do is, if you've got your surface of water, dig down a little bit. It might already be damp. If it's already damp, don't bother watering it. If it's dry underneath, water it. But once you finish watering, go back, dig down a little bit, because it could just be the first top of the layer being wet and the bottom bit being bone dry. So just make sure that you go back and check that. Is it like a fox that's been bitten it? Do you know what? I had a terrible issue with foxes knocking over my sunflowers a few years ago, and I used a product called Fox Off, and that worked quite nicely. I don't know if you're able to put that on any of them plants, but you can make a spray with chili. So just water and chili and spray that on it. They won't eat it. It'll be too spicy for them. How do I choose the right size for my vegetable garden? So I'd start small, small as you like, and then you can build up to a bigger garden. Don't bite off more than you can chew. I started off with a really small vegetable garden, and I grew into having my 2 allotments and my home garden. Don't go too big, because you'll be overwhelmed, especially if you're a beginner. That's my advice. Do you keep seeds from your vegetables? Yes. Do you know what? I actually, doing YouTube, I just took a picture of my seeds. I saved some poppy seeds today. I save almost every seed that I can, particularly on anything that's super expensive to buy, like cucumbers. And then you can really put tons of seeds in. I sow quite a few, and heavy-handedly, because I save them myself. It just makes you seed rich. So things like cucumbers are really easy to save. Tomatoes don't really cross, so they're really easy to save. All you do is take the pulp out and remove the gel from it, and they're easy. But things like squashes, you do need to kind of like put one of those little jewelry nets on them. I like saving every single seed. Some things I don't mind crossing, like flowers. I think they look better like that. Thank you. Okay. How do I protect my vegetables from fungal disease? Air circulation, plant them, give them more space, and don't water their leaves is the easiest way for that. Water in the mornings also will reduce fungal diseases. If you do get a fungal disease, then spray your squashes with milk, really helps. Obviously dilute it with water or it'll stink. That will remove powdery mildew. And honestly, aspirin, if you spray your plants, your tomato plants with aspirin, it reduces the likelihood of fungal diseases, but space is the best way. Hello, Nick. Hello. Oh, thank you. Oh, that's very sweet of you. Thank you so much. See, I'm blushing, but thank you. Big fan. It honestly means a lot when you guys come and talk to me. I was always so worried about coming on here and having no one to talk to. If you go back to look at my first lives, that's literally what happened. Should I raise beds? All right, so raised beds are one of those things that are really popular right now, raised beds. But I would say if you've got good soil, right, if there's nothing actually wrong with your soil, or if there's no ailment that you have to your back or your knees or anything like that, I wouldn't do raised beds. I would just do it in the ground. It's a cheaper option. It means that you can grow more and it'll be cheaper, and we want gardening to be available for everyone, right? Hello, I never have any luck with cauliflower. Yeah, so cauliflower, really like this. I'm actually sowing this now, although I'm chatting, I'm not really sowing at the moment. I find the best thing to do with cauliflower is starting when it's cold. Cauliflower doesn't like it when it's hot. And also give it more space than you think. That is the best thing to do with it, so that it has enough room to really bulb up. And don't be scared about not harvesting it. If you harvest it early, you'll get a tiny head. Once it starts to separate, so that's what they look like, when they start to separate out, that's when they're going to go to seed. So you can get it through that. They'll start to rise up. You can cut it then, all right? Try to get it back before then, but it really is it really is just experience. You'll learn, okay, that's a really good cauliflower, let's pull it, etc. I have heard that if you start with starts, it is a good thing to do, but they are really expensive, aren't they? Have you thought about using worm casting? Do you know what? Worm casting has been a thing that I've been thinking about quite a lot. The only thing is I think that I'd struggle to have worms and stay married. That's the issue that I have. I'd love to have them down the allotment, but I think they get too cold in the winter, so I'm worried about losing them in the winter. One of my friends does it and they're amazing. Worm casting is the best fertilizer, so it is something that's one of my long-term goals. I do want to move in the next, like, I've been talking about moving for years, so don't get excited. I would like to do it when I have moved, but who knows, Can flowers hurt my vegetable plants? No. Flowers are amazing in the garden. They are absolutely the perfect way to get beneficial insects into your garden. Plant as many flowers as you can. Don't plant anything too close though, because I think it was you that was asking about powdery mildew diseases. You just want that airflow. That's the only thing they can damage with. But apart from that, they are beautiful in the garden. How sweet potatoes versus regular. So sweet potatoes are really heat loving. Now there's two types of sweet potato. There's bushing variety and there is vining tomatoes. Vining variety. You want the bushing type because the vine will sprawl everywhere. I've done both. This year I'm doing a bushing variety. A couple of years ago I did vining. I found that the vinings produce beautiful amount of vines, right? They were like took over my whole allotment, but I didn't get very many potatoes and you had to dig the whole area to get them. This variety, you only get potatoes in a small area, so that's good. They love heat, so if you're going to mulch them, leave a circle around them so that the sun can really burn like the soil. They don't need very much water either. but they do need to be started in slips. You can't just plant a sweet potato and expect anything. Whereas a regular spud, you could just trench that. I did trenches this year, and I'm about to plant another set of potatoes as well because I'm getting them out, and they're very simple. Just stick them in soil. You can do them in pots, you can do them in the soil. Keep them very well watered. They absolutely love water, and you'll get nice big potatoes. What is the ideal depth for a raised garden bed? So ideally, what I would do is I'd have a shallow one. Why? Because it's expensive to fill it up. Ideally, you'd have one, say, this height, so you can just look in like that. But think about the volume of soil that's needed to go into there. So it's going to be very expensive. What I'd do is like a pallet collar bed, like I did over the back side of my allotment, and then just have cardboard at the bottom. Then say whatever you can get, horse manure, wood chips, stick that on there, and plant out into the native soil. I can't believe I forgot the word plant. I think I've missed some. Okay, our cauliflower is flowering quite quickly. It's very yummy. It's still small. Yeah, it's the time of year. This is a really hot period, and cauliflower does not like being hot. So it is one of those things that the tomatoes and peppers are going to do better, whereas the cold loving crops are going to struggle. And the only thing you can do, because obviously we don't have a crystal ball, do we, is just start them a little bit earlier. And I know that's easier said than done. I've got ones going out and they're not looking particularly happy either. Oh, another thing you can do is plant them out when they've got their second set of full leaves. That will give them a better head start as well. I know they look a little bit pathetic and sad when you plant them out. How do you know when my potatoes are done? So yes, they have been planted months ago. Mine have just started. My second early ones, my first early and my second earlies are just about to come out. So you can tell when the foliage have started. When you walk along and you look at your tomatoes and you say, oh my god, my potatoes. And when you look at your potatoes and think, oh my goodness, what's happened to them? They've got a disease, they're dying, and they're all yellow. Dig them up. All right. If you cure them, which means just leave them on the side to dry out that skin, then you can store them for a very long time. All right. Especially if you've got main crops. Main crops can last 6 to 9 months. I'm just putting them in big containers with a damp hessican sack on top. What's your favourite squash variety? Oh, do you know what? There's one, I cannot remember. Is it delicata? It's a sweet potato squash. I love that one. I also love Crown Prince. That one stores like ridiculously. But I also like Butterfly, which is a butternut squash as well. I'm like the only person that eats squash in this house, so it's one of those things that, sorry, I had no power come up. It's one of those things that I really like it. So they're the ones I would do. Shooting Star is a good summer squash as well. How do I test my... So I actually had a pH tester, but what you could do is get some litmus paper, which you can buy on Amazon. And it's like what we used in school, and just taking some of your some of your soil and putting it in, pretend this is a cup, mixing it all up, and then putting the litmus paper in and seeing what the pH is roughly there. Or you can buy a pH tester, depending on how much you want to spend. But honestly, I'm not really that into doing it, and I've done it for the channel. I did quite a few bits of pH testing to see how it was, and I was absolutely staggered that even like a few feet away, it had a completely different pH. But if you are going to get a pH probe, water extremely well before you do a pH test, because the more water you have, the more likely you're going to get a decent reading on it. If it's dry soil, it can't make a reading. Brilliant. Where don't I get my seeds from? So, for example, these are like just seeds that I've got here. I got this one from Wilkinson's. That's a new packet, isn't it? I mean, how long have they been shut down? Self-Sufficiency seeds, Thomas & Morgan, Simply Seeds. I literally get them from everywhere. Aldi, Lidl. If I see seeds, I'm buying. Where'd you get your seeds from? So I said that. Can I grow vegetables in containers? Absolutely. Absolutely. I did post on my community tab a little while ago about what size containers. Off the top of my head, I can't remember, but just make sure you've got the correct size container or you won't get a massive harvest, and just keep up the fertilizing. No dig beds, me too. Put in 2 years and I've just found slabs underneath. Do you know what? I've got no dig beds in my back garden, right? And I know, because I built the raised bed. Underneath the raised bed, about a foot deep, is slabs. And I'm currently growing corn on the part with the slabs. Corn, and I've got tomatoes, and I've got lettuce, and I've actually got a star jasmine on there. No problem whatsoever with it. I've never had any issues with it. It drains beautifully, no problems whatsoever. So if you're not having any issues with it, then if it's not broke, why fix it? That's what I always think. Oh, thank you. My eyes are loving it. Oh, sorry, it is going a little bit quick. No, you don't have to rip up the beds. I've been doing it. If you're having issues, then maybe. If you're not having issues, I'd leave it how it is. Can I try talking in an American accent? I honestly, I wouldn't even know how to begin. Heirlooms versus hybrids. So heirlooms are things that are open pollinated. That sounds really technical and scary. It's not. It just means, like, people like me, I save all my own seeds, yeah? So my seeds are going to be my heirlooms. So I have this packet of, you know, the bunny flowers, you know, the ones you kids used to do that. I can't remember their actual names. These are my heirlooms. I've been saving them for absolute years. So these are going to be stable. If you put these, it's going to be the same plant that I got in. I didn't cross them. Whereas F1 literally stands for, well, it's the first generation of a cross. So you take, say, this plant and this plant, you cross them, and then whatever comes out, that's your F1. So if you save the seeds from that and you plant it, you will be getting some form of broccoli, but you won't necessarily get the same as the plant that you got it from. Does that make sense? So if you are saving seeds, then you technically have to save from an heirloom. Although my corn that's out there that's growing beautifully was an F1 hybrid a few years ago, and I've been saving seeds for that for 5 years or something, so I'm guessing it is a heirloom now. Yeah, leave it. If it's not making any issues, just leave it. Food for hobbyists. Have you ever tried? Yes, I have. I cannot pronounce the name of that squash at all, and they were huge. Tombola Road. I had them, and they were about 4 foot tall. They were ridiculous, and they're really, really, really nice. And you can even eat them as courgettes, but you get an absolute ton of them. They are absolutely huge. I made some into like a butternut soup squash, and they are very nice. Thank you. I'm getting quite a few compliments. You guys are going to make me blush. What is the weirdest seed that you've ever bought? The weirdest seeds. The weirdest seed is atacha. So it's like a type of Bolivian, I think, cucumber. And they explode. So that's probably the strangest one that I've ever bought. They taste like green pepper, if you're interested in growing them. They're meant to be cucumbers, but they do taste like green pepper. They become rubbery if you leave them too long. Hello, Bailey. My dog's here. I want big strawberries, and this year I've got a few. All right, how old are your strawberries? If your strawberry plants are over, I believe, 3 years, you are going to get tiny strawberries and less strawberries. If you want, like you said, big fat strawberries, look at the variety and look at the spacing of them. Make sure they're spread out nicely and that you don't have them too close together or too old. So it is heart-wrenching. You do need to rip them out. Be cruel to be kind, but if you keep the runners, you can just replace them for free. What's the difference between organic and inorganic fertilizers? So organic is something from the soil, say bloodfish and bone meal, or chicken manure, okay? Or what they called teas, yeah, compost teas. But something like nitrogen fertilizers made man-made in a factory, okay, with a chemical process. So that's the two difference between them. All right, what that really means nothing to us. So in practice, organic fertilizers are slow acting and inorganic fertilizers are fast acting. So it depends on where you kind of land in inorganic and organic. I only use organic fertilizers, but I'm not a purist. I buy inorganic seeds, I buy inorganic plants. It is what it is. 2 years you've had those compost beds, I wouldn't move. Oh, sorry, 2 years you've had the strawberries. It looks like, I've got Cambridge favourites too. I love Cambridge favourites. I got some whopping strawberries this year, so I know that they're a good variety. What I would do this year, you should be getting runners this year. So I would save as many runners as you can, and I would remove, I don't know how many strawberries you have, if you've got a bed of strawberries or whatever, I wouldn't remove all of them, but I'd remove a lot of them and then replace them with this year's runners. And you want to say, so how strawberry plant works is you get the normal strawberry plant, you get runner, yeah? You want to save that first runner, that is the best runner. Chop off the end before they even grow. Keep that runner. You can even put it in a pot, and I used to use bobby pins. You know, the bobby pins that you used to use in your hair. And I would go ahead and do that and save those ones, and then you'll get fresh strawberries next year. But you don't want to get rid of all 16, and I'll tell you why. Because then you won't have hardly any next year, because the first year is like the worst year for strawberries. But also make sure you're watering them really well. I noticed that as soon as I pulled off the water in, they kind of all looked very sad for themselves. Keep picking. Even if you have ones that have been damaged, make sure you pick those off. Even if they're like wormy or like gross, or you've trod on them, whatever, pick them off, because you'll keep telling the strawberry plant, look, you need to make seeds, you need to make seeds. As soon as it feels like it's done that job, it's going to stop pumping out strawberries. Oh, you've had your strawberries for years. Do you save your runners every year? To be honest, I've had my strawberries for absolute years, but I've got so many. I have like so many. I don't even know how many I've got. I've got ridiculous amounts, like to the point where I tell people to take strawberries and you can't even notice when they do. So I don't have a problem with strawberries. I think we got something like 20 kilos in just one picking. Brilliant. Yeah, there you go. So save the runners, they're exact clones, so they are the same plant. This year they are runners from last year. Yeah, so if they're too close together, then you will be having issues. What you just want to bear in mind is that if you keep keeping it's hard, isn't it? I love my strawberries. If you keep keeping them, you will get something called I think it was black rot or brown rot, I can't remember, and it really just wipes out all your strawberries, so you don't want that. You do need good airflow, but they are very invasive strawberries. We have rows of them, yeah. So it's a really great way of doing it is having them in rows, and then just either tilling or really mulching between the rows so they don't spread, and then every few years digging them up and replacing them, but don't do it all in one go. I love the video, by the way, thank you so much. Pine berries. Do you know what? Pine berries are amazing. They are literally amazing. They are so nice. I had them. I bought them. I haven't actually grown them, but I bought them a little while ago, and they were so nice. Did you grow for your family, or do they grow their own? So Jasmine has an area over the allotment. My daughter, she shares it with my son, who's 1. But I would say that 95% of the work that gets done over there is literally me. The thing is, I think it's important to encourage children into the garden, but it's also important to understand that they are children, so you aren't going to give them an area and they're going to weed it and things like that. So I give a big helping hand to her, but at the end of the season, she likes showing, she picks what she grows, and she likes picking things. And I mean, she got a couple of cherry tomatoes there, and she loves like scoffing them and things like that. So she'll be there for the fun bits, and it's all about making those positive memories, isn't it? How can I improve clay soil? Just add in organic matter, wood chips, if you're doing back to Eden method, any compost, horse manure, anything like that, just year after year after year, it improves. Now I've got light and fluffy soil. It literally was like I needed a jack. If you go back to my first videos, you can see that I cannot get like my hori, it just won't. It's like, it literally is, and it just slowly improves over time. And that is a back to Eden bed, so it has wood chip on it, so you can use that. Anything that's free, really. I do have success growing swede. I don't grow it other than in the winter, and I grow one bed of it. Last year I was, obviously I had a C-section and stuff like that, so I did plant it out late and it was a bit rubbish, but it's still got like, I think like 30 swedes or something like that. If you want them bigger, you just plant them out when they're small. I have a load of them to go out very, very soon. You just don't let them get root bound. How can I get my child involved? Honestly, what I think is the best way to do it is just invite them. I look at gardening like going to Tesco's, making your bed, brushing your teeth. It's something we have to do. So I bring my children along and they get involved or they play. So for example, I was at the allotment today and my daughter was making, I think, a fairy house. Do you make your own compost? Yes, I do, but I'm just getting phone calls right now. So yes, I do make my own compost, and I mix garden waste with, that's me knocking things over, with cardboard, and 50-50 ratio, and it makes beautiful compost in about 2 years because I'm too lazy to turn it. With that, I've got to go. I'm really sorry, but I think the baby needs to go to bed. So goodbye, and thank you so much for coming. I'll see